Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Huh. That's odd. A Jeep eating gas. Alright guys, I just got the Jeep back from All Pro, is where I went to take the Jeep in to have the resonators taken out and a couple of tips put in. The reason why I did what I did was because I actually spoke with a couple of people about the concepts of taking it all out, taking the mid-muffler versus the resonators, leaving the resonators on, taking the resonators out, vice versa. And what it came down to was basically just I wanted a little bit of more noise without it being too ridiculous just yet. We might get to that later on. But no, so I guess I really haven't done a video yet of the new Jeep. And it's kind of tight in here. That's what she said. But as you can see, I do have the full 8.4-inch U-connect. The SRT steering wheel, flat bottom, which is kind of nice, but I've heard there's some issues with the material that it's made out of. I don't think it's aluminum, but some sort of flecking that happens, and it can cut you as you slide your hand back and forth, blah blah blah. But this does not have that yet, or if it has, it's been repaired. The steering wheel is pretty beefy compared to, my wife has a 2019 Scat Pack that we got, and this steering wheel by far feels more meatier, I guess you could say. It feels like it's, I don't want to use the term thicker, but I'm gonna have to. And then obviously the paddle shifters. It's got the SRT paddle shifters, which a lot of you may know. They're the ones that come on the Scat Packs are just itty bitty little things. Well, these are the full paddle, which is nice. It definitely gives you that feel when you're shifting it of more control over the shifts versus just that little tiny piece. So that's nice. It does have a really nice leather stitched deal on the dash, and then as well in the door panels there is the carbon fiber trim that also goes on the doors up there around the push to start in the front and along that side. I do plan on accenting with carbon fiber around the steering wheel as well as in a few other areas in the engine bay. But I did notice that it has the obnoxious and common defect where the carbon fiber starts to bubble out right there. I haven't inspected a whole lot just yet, but I mean, it's whatever. It's not life or death. It's not going to kill me. I just love having the Jeep, period. And so, yeah, we went over the steering wheel. We kind of went over the radio. It does have the 2016 switched up the shifter, which was really nice. If you Google 2015 Jeep SRTs, they have, it's more of a, it's not a pistol grip, which is what this is, which is what I like. But it's more of a, it's got the button on top. It kind of looks like the 2013 and 14, if you know what the all-wheel drive Chargers had. They had a little push button on the top of it, and I guess there were some issues with that shifter just in general. And in order to, it was basically click once back, click once up, and in order to get to, you know, say you're in park and you want to get down to drive, you had to click it back so many times, but it was just a single motion, and then it would come back to the middle. I didn't like that. I read up a lot about that, and that was something that I just didn't want to deal with that because it seemed a little shifty to me. I like having the you have to go through the motions. I realize that newer cars are all electronic anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but I like the feeling of clicking it once you're in reverse, clicking it back twice you're in neutral, clicking it 3 times and you're back in drive. And that's all. I didn't like the idea of different, you got to click it up 2 times to put it in park, or click it back 2 times to get it in drive. That wasn't doing it for me. So this is the shifter that they started putting in the Jeep SRTs in 2016. That was one of the big decisions I made when I went with my little shopping spree of, the lowest year model I'll go is 2016. I cut that off right there. Unfortunately, I really wanted to get into a 2017. 2017s, they refreshed the digital gauges. Well, not gauges. The gauges, I think, were still analog, but the screen there was a little bit of trim around it. Here, let's pop this up real quick so people can see. So, around the RPM gauge. God, that sun really sucks. I'm sorry, guys. But around the RPM gauge on the 2017s, there's it's like a molding, and it kind of makes it pop a little more. And I really liked that, and the fact that on the 2017 Grand Cherokees, the front fascia was kind of refaced a little bit. It's got if you look at a picture of a 2017 Jeep SRT, it's got like a little nostril right underneath where the grill sits for airflow, and it's really nice. It looks really sleek. But the 2017s were still a little bit out of my price range, so that didn't take. But still, I mean, for a 2016, it is in very good condition, minus a few little things here and there. It was the color I wanted. I wanted I'm going to just call it, oh God, now I forget. Octane red on the Chargers. This is basically the octane red for the Jeeps. I think it's called velvet red clear coat or pearl coat, but don't quote me on that. But this was the color that I wanted, so that was good. It also had the full leather interior, which was something that I was looking for, but it wasn't an absolute necessity. I could live without it. The one thing that I did want that I was not going to get a Jeep without was the full panoramic sunroof. It is absolutely beautiful. Excuse my hand, but I love it. Unfortunately, the sunroof only goes back to about here. It does not extend the full way, but it's still, at night, it's a lot brighter in the vehicle. It's nicer just in general. So it feels more open in the vehicle as to if that wasn't even there to begin with. So, along with this being a necessity, I also had to have the 19 speaker Harman Kardon sound system, which is, for a vehicle that is 4 years old, sounds amazing. The person that had this before me was the dealership's owner, if I said that right. The owner of the dealership was the one who owned this. The son had bought it for the dad, and obviously it's a 2016, so it's a little older, so he probably traded up. But he did take extremely good care of this. And front seats are heated and ventilated, which is really nice in the summer and winter. Steering wheel is heated. I've gotten a little spoiled by that because it's been a little cold here in Nebraska the past couple weeks, so I've been using this religiously. See what else. Along with that, I mean, you got different drive modes, which is really nice. I've been driving around in track and sport a lot. The auto is pretty good if you're just kind of cruising around but still want the power, because it still has a lot of power. But you click it over into sport and the suspension kind of stiffens up, as well as the steering, as well as the shifting and the transmission. I mean, it gets a lot more crisper. It's really nice. It's something you have to experience if you don't know what I'm talking about. So along with that, I mean, I haven't even messed with the launch at all. I want to kind of baby this thing for what it is. Y'all are going to hate me, but I do want to go fast. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to take care of it. This is by far the nicest vehicle I have ever had. So this is kind of my baby. But along with that, if I sit here and I were to click the SRT, up on the screen it'll bring up the drive pages, whatever, SRT pages for the drive modes. And you can go in, you can set up custom drive mode. It'll set here. If I click it over into sport, it changes. If I click it over into track, it changes. So that's kind of nice. I do have a custom one set up, which is you can go through and you can set up the custom to, if you want the transmission on track, if you want the paddle shifters off. God knows why you would want the paddle shifters off. Just leave them on. Don't touch that. The stability control I got it in sport. And then the suspension's in street. The reason why is because the suspension in the street mode is a lot softer. The second you go into sport and track mode for the suspension, it gets really stiff. Which, I mean, if I weren't driving around on the streets of Nebraska in Omaha, thank you, Gene Stothert, I would be fine with. But the roads here are a little worse for wear. Granted, they're better this year than they were last year, which is nice, but they're still extremely bumpy. So you put it over into track, and I mean, you're just sitting here going blah 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 blah. If I had a frickin' soda, I mean, it would start spilling out everywhere. So I like to keep it in street or sport with the suspension to kind of just keep it a little softer on the suspension side of things. Let's go outside real quick. That is the wind's probably killing it out here. I need to get a new mic, but that is the new exhaust with the resonators deleted and the 5-inch tips put on. The 5-inch tips look a hell of a lot better than the previous trumpets that they had on there, which are right here. Screw out those things. So the sub for the 19-inch speaker, Harman Kardon Systems back here, which is nice. It's got a storage where the spare tire goes. A lot of space underneath there. The seats do fold. It's a 60-40 split, which is nice. And then it's got this lovely screen for when I shut the door, which is automatic, which is also nice.